Hey folks, welcome to my first ever live on this YouTube channel, the Monday Stack. It's good to see you, and I thought I'd kick it off with letting you know what on earth I'm doing over here on the Monday Stack. If you don't know who I am, I'm Mike Monday, and I've been a creator in the music coaching space since around 2010. Before that, I was a music producer and DJ and artist and traveled the world doing that kind of thing and releasing lots of records. And now I'm starting this new business in the world of AI and coaching, because I realized a lot of the systems and processes and methods and frameworks and ways of thinking that I developed to help musicians make more music were very applicable in lots of other areas too. And that AI was actually a technology that could help people with the frameworks and methods and systems and processes and tools that I'd created over the years. So I'm going to start with actually addressing something that is becoming a bit of an issue out there right now. And it's really, I think, since the launch of GPT-5, it's reaching a kind of fever pitch, and it's a result of hype. Now, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and address this, and I'll tell you what it is in a second, without predicting anything. One of the things I cannot stand about this area, about AI, from both sides, is that we seem to have developed an ability, an incredible ability, that everybody seems to have turned into a prophet. They seem to be able to predict the future with certainty. Now, I do understand that it's very uncertain. This new technology has arrived, and it makes us feel all very uncertain and doubtful. I'm equally, I say this all the time, I'm equally terrified and excited by what's going on at the same time. I can't stand some of the things going on. I think it's terrible. And I think at the same time, much of what is possible is very exciting. And so in this atmosphere of uncertainty, what human minds tend to do is they create false certainty, and they start predicting with certainty, well, this is going to happen and that is going to happen. And I mean, we do it all the time. I mean, you know, if I walk out of my shed right now, my studio right now, I don't expect that I'm going to keel over and expire, right? But I don't know that. Yeah, but so I am predicting things all the time. But I attempt not to do that as much as possible. But at the same time, we do need to figure out how we're going to move into this future. What I've realized is you can do this without turning into a prophet, without predicting the future. You can actually do it, and it's much more accurate and much more helpful if you do it simply by attempting to look at the past and see what's happened, and not go, well, that will definitely happen in the future. Not necessarily that, but just think about what has happened in the past, and then use that also to explain the present, because those are the only things that either have happened or are happening. Okay. So what I'm talking about here is really since the release of GPT-5, which, due to hype, by the way, people thought was going to, you know, we were going to have AGI, or all of a sudden things were going to completely explode. I didn't expect that because of what I saw as the development of LLMs. But this has now shocked loads of people into thinking, well, that means that, you know, this is all a load of nonsense. And I mean, I'm just picking this one article because it was, you know, it's in a big magazine, but in the New Yorker article, Cal Newport wrote one, which actually a lot of it made a lot of sense, and I agreed with what it was saying. But it's like the approach, it's the question that it's asking, which is somewhat suspect, which is, what if AI doesn't get much better than this? And if you can't read what it says under it, it says GPT-5, a new release from OpenAI, is the latest product to suggest that progress on large language models has stalled. Now, I'm not going to get into how that in itself is suspect on its own, but what I am going to say is, let's just take this at face value. And actually, I would thoroughly recommend you go and read the article. A lot of what it says makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I would agree with the conclusion of this article, in fact, but it's the approach. It's this, oh no, it's stalled. It's all a bubble. Because when I think about this, what if I answer this question, what if AI doesn't get much better than this? Do you know what my initial answer, my internal answer is straight away? It's this. Yes! Brilliant! Do you know why? Because what it does right now, with all of the problems that it has right now, what large language models do right now is so useful and so incredible with the problems that it has right now, that it would give me, anyway, and a lot of other people, a chance to catch up. Right? Because there is so much. It's called in tech speak, apparently, a product overhang, where the technology is so far ahead of the products that it's overhanging. We haven't yet caught up with what the technology can do. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you with something from the past. Now, we might not remember this, but once upon a time, apparently, according to Wikipedia, not AI, unless, of course, Wikipedia is starting to be written by AI, which it might be, who knows. But anyway, according to Wikipedia, in around BC 1900, in Mesopotamia, some bright spark decided to strap a chariot to the back of a horse. And we had the beginning of horse-drawn transportation, horse-drawn chariots, and then horse-drawn carriages. Now, then the steam engine was invented. I think it was initially, I mean, I'm no historian, by the way. This is a very, very kind of high-level thing, all right? So the steam engine was invented and was first put in factories, I think, for various different things. And then someone thought, oh, do you know what? We could strap it onto the back of one of these carriage thingies. And then we don't need any horses. Do you know, apparently, at one point in cities, they were seriously concerned about the amount of horse poo that was starting to flood the streets of... basically, one of the jobs that was lost was horse poo shovelers. Yeah, that was like, there was loads of them. Right, we're running out of horse poo shovelers. We need more of them. And anyway, that job went away. Probably not such a bad thing. I don't know what they went on to do. But anyway, you know, if you've been trained in horse poo shoveling and then this job goes away, I mean, what are you to do? I really don't know. Anyway, so in 1803, somebody put one of these steam engines on the back of a carriage, and we have this horseless carriage. Now, as you can see, it basically looks like there's just no horse. And instead of a horse on the front, you've got a steam engine on the back. It's basically the same thing, right? And they're like, well, this is really uncomfortable. It's just not very, you can't really steer it very well. What's going on? So then some French person, he or she, I don't know, decided to actually change the form factor and sort of maybe instead of having what you used to steer a horse, they thought, well, let's try something else. And we got the Renault Voiturette, which is starting to look a bit more like a modern car. And then, of course, we had Henry Ford with the Model T, and we're starting to get close to the car. We got amazing innovations like a steering wheel and a windscreen and tyres and stuff like that. And then fast forward to 1978, and somebody realised that we could go really, really fast in these things, And we get things like F1 cars and obviously the car today. Now, the question is, I'm sure you're asking it, is where is AI right now? Yeah, where are we in this technological development? Are we at the point of the steam carriage, the horseless carriage? Or are we at the point of the F1 car? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I'm not actually knowing what stage we're at would require us being able to predict the future. So that's why I'm saying I don't know. The three most useful words in the human language, I don't know, but only if you recognize that I don't know isn't a wall, it's a door. Yeah, it's incredible how those three words can be both. If you go, I don't know, I'm just going to go and watch Netflix. Okay, that's a problem. If you go, I don't know, let's find out, that's a good thing. Okay, so let's have a look at actually trying to walk through that door of I don't know and think about how technology kind of propagates and develops. Okay, so at the beginning, we have what I'm calling a watershed innovation. Yeah, so an innovation lands, it's like the breakthrough, the breakthrough to new possibilities. So in the case of the car, we had the steam engine, and I'm going to use a different example as well. So let's say the iPhone. I've got one right here. Let's say another one. One that maybe is a bit more a bit newer, so it kind of feels a bit closer to AI, right? So in the case of the car, we had the steam engine, and then that got developed and became the combustion engine. But the initial breakthrough was the steam engine. With something like an iPhone, or something like, let's just say a mobile phone, a sort of mobile computer, I guess, you had various different watershed technologies. So mobile broadband was one of them, lithium-ion batteries, capacitive multi-touch surfaces. Yeah, all of those were the breakthroughs, the innovations that made what we now do possible. Yeah, but that the innovation in and of itself isn't the only thing, because then what happens is that people start creating tools. They develop tools to make it usable and useful. So in the car, you've got steering wheels, quite useful. I would not like to be driving my car with, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but those things, two things that you hold with, I can't believe I can't remember how you steer a horse. Anyway, those things you steer a horse with, not very useful for a car. Yeah, but brakes, tires. In a phone, you've got miniaturized chips getting smaller and smaller, sensors, also apps. The idea of apps, when the iPhone first came out, there weren't any apps, even the App Store. Yeah. Then you have what I'm calling the vector. It's like an interface kind of coalesces or develops, which is like the ultimate form that delivers the utility, the possible utility of the various different innovations. So the way that cars basically look right now, I was listening to a podcast just the other day, and so, I can't remember who it was. I think it was an idea. No, it was Benedict. I can't remember. Anyway, so I think it was called Not Another Podcast. It was the last episode. It was just yesterday, in fact. And he said that when wind tunnels were invented, basically the shape of the car was done. Yeah, the form factor of the car was done. That was what a car looked like, right? And obviously, the form factor of the iPhone itself is the vector for this technology. Because before iPhones, you had Nokia things and you had Blackberries and all that kind of stuff. But then iPhone, I mean, basically, I'm sorry, people who aren't into iPhones, most smartphones look like the iPhone now, right? I mean, Apple took various different companies to court about that. Yep. So there is a sort of an ultimate interface that delivers the utility of the technology. But that's not the end of it. That's just the beginning, really. Because then, I mean, again, this isn't like this happens, then happens, this happens, then this happens, and then that happens. It's not linear. This is all happening at the same time. But then what happens is that an ecosystem grows around it. So it's like, it's not just the ecosystem grows around it, but the environment shifts around it. Other technologies are developed in order to support it or develop it. I mean, in a sense, the combustion engine itself was a technology that came about as a result of what happened before it, all of these other things. Infrastructure around it. If you think about cars, we've got roads, suburbs themselves wouldn't be possible without roads and cars. Yeah. The oil industry, manufacturing came about partially as a result of the car. Even things like cultural things like youth culture. Think about, Greece or the musical Greece. It's all around cars and also tourism. And then if we think about something like the iPhone, or we think about like mobile computers, that's probably what we're talking about here, because the iPhone is a vector. Then we've got social media, social feeds, messaging, ride sharing. The banking has changed. The gig economy probably wouldn't occur without it. The creator economy, the explosion in internet use. And what's interesting about this isn't the end, because what has the explosion in internet use led to? That's right, it's led to AI. So this is just an ongoing thing. In a sense, an AI is an ecosystem shift as a result of mobile technology. Yeah, I mean, it was being developed before, but arguably, one of the reasons there's so much text on the internet, which was what these large language models were trained on, it's because, or one of the reasons, it's because of this wave. Yeah, so it's successive waves building on each other. Okay, and so coming back to our friend Cal Newport, who asked the question, what if AI doesn't get much better than this? The problem I have with this sort of this question in general is that behind this question is another question, an unanswered one. It's, will current LLMs turn out to be the equivalent of a steam engine? In other words, the early version of the breakthrough, of the innovation, or an F1 engine, the culmination of an F1 engine. And the reason that these are not useful questions, they're just not useful questions to ask, is because they require us to be prophets. They require us to see into the future when, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter who you are, you can't. Okay, I mean, let me ask you this. How fast, useful, or transformative would the horseless carriage have been with an F1 engine in it? Just imagine. Just imagine, instead of a steam engine, you had an F1 engine in one of these. It would not be very popular because whoever was driving it would immediately die. Yeah, it's not the best user experience. Okay, so the thing is about what is going on right now in terms of AI. If we put AI into this model, if we think about the large language model, the LLM, that's basically the Watershed breakthrough. I mean, arguably there are other things as well, but let's just keep it simple. Okay, so the Watershed breakthrough is a large language model. And then on top of that, people are starting to develop applications or the tools. So chat. And some of these tools, of course, just like the horseless carriage, i.e. chat, have been taken from previous technologies like messaging. Okay, so we've got chat, we've got voice, we've got web search was added. I can't remember when. Time's lost all meaning with the way the speed things are going. We've now got browsers that are starting to be, well, maybe that's another tool. We've got also prompt engineering and now context engineering. We've got MCP, which is essentially the model context protocol, which is a way of connecting various different tools, okay, which are also opening the way to more agentic capabilities. So there's lots of new tooling that's going on. The GPT-5, the way that it now, if you use GPT-5, that is, rather than the legacy models, if you use GPT-5, basically the switcher, the router, that when you ask a question, it decides whether to send you to a thinking model or a non-thinking thinking model. That is another tool on top of the LLM. I mean, it's an LLM in itself, but that engineering is also they're also applications. And at this point, the vector is a chatbot. But the question is a chatbot more like a horseless carriage, or is it the end point? And all of this, like, what about the ecosystem? We haven't even determined whether, I mean, this is all so early. And that question, like GPT-5 it seems to be suggesting that large language models are slowing down. So therefore, this is just a load of nonsense. The steam engine on the back of a horseless carriage wasn't a particularly good, I mean, it was kind of a good idea. Yeah. But did that mean that cars weren't useful? No, it just meant that we didn't have the tooling. We didn't know what the tooling was. We didn't understand what the actual form factor was. And there wasn't time for the ecosystem, for the shifts to change around it. Which is why I say, and you'll notice in explaining this, I haven't predicted anything. Not a single thing. I've simply looked at what's happened in the past and I've used that to explain the present. And I would really love it if more people started doing that, because it's the only thing we can be certain of. I mean, we could argue, we could discuss, we could have a spirited discussion about if I have actually explained things correctly. There may be some inaccuracies. Yeah. So, for example, with this Watershed thing over here, large language model, if LLMs are the steam engine, there could be a combustion engine. Yeah, or there might not be. And by the way, that wasn't a prediction. All I'm saying is that I don't know if LLMs are it, or whether, according to people like Gary Marcus and things like that, there's another thing that would be better. I don't know, but I'm not going to go there because I don't know. But what I do know is that the breakthrough, the Watershed innovation, is the large language model, but which is just one part of the wave effect. And this is why I'm confident. I mean, I'm not really confident about anything, but I'm confident enough. I mean, I'm as confident as I am to walk outside and guess that I'm not going to keel over and die, right? That I'm happy to be building within the AI space, even if LLMs and the technology stopped right now. It just stayed where it was right now. Not because I'm predicting the future, but because I'm explaining the present. Yeah, through the lens of the past. And obviously, because I'm not an AI researcher being paid hundreds of millions by Mark Zuckerberg, right? Because I'm not that. I'm not going to look at the watershed. I'm not qualified to do that, and it would take me years to get there. So it's just not my thing. Obviously, I'm not a god. So I don't know, again, like trying to make the ecosystem happen, I have no idea what will spring up around it. I can't, again, that involves seeing into the future. But I can focus on these two areas, the applications and the vector, the tools and the interfaces. So in terms of applications, what I'm doing right now is, for example, I run coaching sessions. I do one-to-one coaching. I do mastermind sessions, and also I do workshops. Out of those, I record them, and out of those come transcripts of the conversation. And what I am doing now with those workshops and transcripts and coaching sessions is that with the help of AI, with the help of LLMs, I'm processing and structuring them. I'm then giving them to the clients so that they can put them, and also I'm pseudonymizing them, by the way. So what that basically means is that they choose a nickname, and then I replace all of their names with nicknames so that when they upload them into a chatbot or something, the privacy is maintained. So that's something else I'm doing as well. But anyway, as a result of that, they are getting essentially a personalized AI coach to use in between the sessions. Because one of the things about LLMs is they're pattern recognizers. I mean, it's what they are. It's sort of their nature. And when you actually can feed these transcripts into an LLM, it can see patterns. Now, what's really important here, and here's where the kind of Monday stack part of it comes in, is that what I have found by working with these transcripts is that cleaning them up and also making sure all of the crap is out there, the ums and ahs and stuff, but then also structuring them in a certain way so that the LLM can immediately understand what the relationships are between the different sentences and the different kind of sections. That makes the output of the LLM and the insight the LLM gives you much better. The reason is that the LLM doesn't have to infer or guess what it doesn't have to use. But think of it like this: it's got a certain amount of processing for an output. Yeah, it's got a certain amount of power, about amount of juice. If it has to spend a lot of that juice trying to infer what these things mean and how they relate to each other, that is taken away from actually the bit where you want to get the insight. And what it tends to do, if it's not sure, as you will have noticed, this is where hallucinations come from, is it will flatten. It will start to deliver something more vanilla, because it will start to just guess based upon the training, rather than looking more clearly at what is in the transcript itself. So basically, by processing and structuring these transcripts, you're getting a much better output from the LLM. You're getting much clearer insight from the coaching, which you can use in between the coaching sessions. But as well, what I'm doing, as I mentioned at the start of this, I've got all of these frameworks and models and tools and methods. As you can see, from this presentation, I love a framework. The wave effect, that was what I came up for this, in fact. So, they're coming out of my ears. It's ridiculous, but I've got a load of them from the past and that are being made all of the time. And the thing is about a framework like this with a presentation is I'm telling you about it. It's this thing and it's static. You have to kind of remember it, and then I have to tell you how to use it, and I have to take you through a process. And it's not, it would be great for it to be able to be something that you could use whenever you wanted. Lo and behold, we have, apparently the mic is knocking. There we go. Sorry about that. So lo and behold, we have LLMs. You can embed them, and this is one of the things I'm doing. You can embed these frameworks and tools, these processes, into AI systems. Let's call them just intelligent systems. So there's the intelligence of the LLMs, but there is also intelligence within the frameworks and models themselves. That, in a sense, they have intelligence embedded within them, right? And so what you can do, for example, is you can string together a bunch of LLMs just in the background, and each of them kind of represents, I'm just giving you an example, each of them represents a different state of a process, for example. And each of them actually has a different approach. And then I can actually create an experience which takes the user through this framework. And I don't have to be there. And you don't have to put up with this bald idiot waving his arms around. I mean, how wonderful is that? It's awesome. So that's something else I'm doing with the Monday stack. And then also I am playing around with, or thinking about, actually more than playing around with, I'm actually creating something I'm calling the future of content creation, otherwise known as FOC. Yes, FOC. And I'll tell you more about that on a future live stream because I've been talking long enough. Okay. And then just talking about vector, which is the interface, really the question that I'm asking myself with all of this is, what is the AI interface? Because I think most of the chatter, not all, but most of the chatter and the conversation around interface is about, is it going to be chat, or is it going to be voice, or what is the actual UI? You know, what is the, and it's almost like, it's thinking about it in terms of pixels, the traditional UI. But if you think about this, because really, what is an interface? An interface is where two objects meet. Yeah. So it's the boundary between the two things. And an ideal interface, what that will do is it will reduce the friction between those two objects meeting. Now, if you think about talking to an AI, what actually is the friction when you talk to an AI or when you type in an AI? Okay, so there is some friction in typing. There is some friction in pressing a button and having to speak into the thing, and then it transcribing correctly. So there is friction there. There is friction in having to copy and paste. So there is all that friction. But is that the main friction? Is that really where you get really angry? I mean, I get frustrated. If you're anything like me, where I get most angry, the interface is actually somewhere else completely. It's more abstract than that. It's more conceptual than that. It's more, this AI is lying to me. AIs can't lie. They're just doing what you tell them, right? So, or this AI is saying that something is true when it isn't, even though it's not lying. Yeah, it's hallucinating. Or the AI isn't understanding what I'm saying. Or the AI is losing its way. Or it's not actually the real friction. Well, not the real friction, but the most friction is experienced somewhere else. It's almost experienced between the interface between the two intelligences, the human intelligence and the AI intelligence. So maybe, just maybe, the interface is actually more about what is the ideal mind for the AI. Maybe the interface is partially the character the personality, and also the approach that the AI takes with you. And I think the recent pitchforks that happened when OpenAI removed 4.0, ChatGPT 4.0, overnight, and people, there was like loads of people grieving the loss of a friend. I'm not here to say good or bad. I'm not here to judge, right? That is an indication that what I'm saying here may well be true. I'm not saying it is true, but I'm just saying it may well be true, because it seems to be that at least part of the interface isn't just about pixels or voice or chat or is there a box here, was there a button there? It's not that. The interface is more the character and the approach, the mind of the intelligence that you are interacting with. And so in this area, what I am really developing at the moment is this thing called cognitive engineering, which is a kind of step beyond prompt engineering and context engineering, where I'm really attempting to create the ideal mind for any given use case. So that, in a nutshell, is why I'm building in the Monday Stack, why I started the Monday Stack, why I'm taking this approach, and also a very high level view of what I'm creating. In future lives, I'm going to do one a week at this time. In future lives, I'll actually get more into exactly what I'm creating. I really want to share with you what's happening as it's happening and the insights that I'm getting. But I hope you found this useful. I hope that it's given you a different perspective on what is actually happening. And I hope that the next time you hear somebody with certainty predicting, prophesying the future, you'll take it with a pinch of salt and you'll just go, hang on a minute, let's look at what we know. Let's look at what is happening, not what isn't happening. So if you'd like more of this kind of thing, I have a Substack. On there, I'm doing a regular podcast. It's just like a walking, talking podcast, which is, I'm not exactly sure how many times a week. It's when I feel like it. It's unscripted, unedited, and I just talk through stuff. It's kind of like I'm just having a conversation with you in your ear holes. I'm also doing videos as well, some of the stuff from here and other workshops that I'm doing. And also, when I get the time, there might be a bit of writing here and there when I get the urge. So that is over at mikemonday.substack.com. Also, I've been talking about a workshop that I'm doing. So there's the Genius Evolution workshop, which is what I was talking about with the coaching. So that's 5 weeks, AI and personal coaching. So we do the actual coaching in the group. And then in between, I give you the transcripts all processed and these various different assets. So if you are starting or growing a business or a career, music related or not, because obviously a lot of the people I know are from music, so you don't have to be a musician. Email mike@makemusiclife.com. I haven't yet sorted out my Monday Stack email stuff. In fact, I might not do that because I've got 1,000 email addresses already. But anyway, email mike@makemusiclife.com if you're interested in that. So, as I said, I hope you have found this useful. I will be back this time next week to explain much more about the specifics of what I'm doing, and also, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to post them in the comments. If you think I'm talking absolute nonsense, feel free to post it in the comments, and anything else that you want to tell me or ask me, I'll be right there. So, with all that said, I'm going to love you and leave you and say onwards and upwards. Cheers, folks.